Welcome to the Draft America podcast. I'm Michael Seff.
All right, yeah. This is kind of the first, run of doing this show. Trying to expand Chaotically Intolerant as much as we can. So I'll give more of a rundown of this format here that we have. So it's going to be quick hitting podcast, 5 minutes per topic, 3 topics. Week 1 of the NFL, obviously the most important thing. We're going to start off with Tyreek's arrest. Then we're going to jump into Caleb Williams being the first number 1 pick, to win. And then Colts and Texans in a big shootout. But make sure to like, comment, subscribe, the whole thing. I will not be on, I don't know how we're going to do things moving forward, but I will not be on this show all the time. I'm going to be producing the show more than anything. But again, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let's go. So Tyreek Hill got arrested today.
I heard.
But then he just goes off, he does Tyreek Hill things and he goes off for, 100-something yards, right? Like, just crazy. He can just do that. I think we did forget a little bit about Tyreek Hill, right?
Well, yeah, until he steps on the field, anyway. The guy's an unreal talent, but he's just no stranger to brushes with the law. And, again, we don't know exactly what happened, can never speculate. But, again, I guess the question is always, why are you in these situations in the first place? What's happening that's bringing that about? Just from a pure football standpoint, the Dolphins, that was big. They were down 14-0 early to their cross-state rivals. Clawed back, found a way to win. Hopefully this doesn't, if anything, maybe it fuels Hill to be even greater, but doesn't cause a distraction. Will it result in potential discipline from the league? There's always that possibility, depending on what they find. But hey, gets paid to play football, right?
So when I said forget, I meant more in a, I think in a fantasy perspective, and because he kind of ended the year last year a little slower than he started. And I think a lot of fantasy managers really just forgot how fucking good this guy can be. 130 yards, had a touchdown, 80-yard touchdown, I think, was his longest play. But let's talk a little bit about the Dolphins and the Jaguars, especially that game. Battle of I-4 or something? I don't know what they call that. But yeah, great Florida battle. It's just, why does anyone believe in the Jaguars ever? Even when they were up 14-0, they're just paying attention to that game. I was like, this game is just not over. The Dolphins are going to find a way to win.
Usually the Dolphins, for as, weak-minded as we've accused them of being in the past, they are a great bet at home in September. Even against another Florida team who theoretically should be used to the heat. The Jaguars are, alas, an AFC South team, right? How can they be trusted?
Yeah, my dad was debating Trevor Lawrence or Geno Smith or literally anyone else. And I said, why would you ever start Trevor Lawrence ever in any situation, especially as a fantasy quarterback? 12 for 21, 162. It feels like this is kind of like a big season for him, like the do or die, right? This has to be do or die at this point, and you started off just with a stinker again, just a complete gross game. 17 points on this Dolphins team feels like, I don't know. It just doesn't feel good. It does not feel good to be a Jaguars fan whatsoever.
The Jaguars got a sort of a, ultimatum from their owner. Of course, they've been getting ultimatums for a long time, but you're right. They're past the rebuild stage now. They had they had high expectations after winning the division 2 years ago, having that big comeback against the Chargers, and this is not a good way to start the season. But look, it is week 1. We have to remember that it's the time for overreactions. But there's definitely pressure on these certain teams that go 0-1 more so than others.
Yeah, the Jags did not score in the second half. They went up 17-7. They kicked a field goal to end the half, and then did not score whatsoever in the second half. Mm. Is there there has to be someone out there that they can go and get that can ignite the offense a little bit. And I know this is week 1, but I feel like this was kind of the same story for the Jags last year. I don't think it's an overreaction on the Jaguars per se. Miami, we know if you talk about them in any capacity in week one, it's like, okay, they're not going to be that team in December. But Jacksonville, do you think they can go out and get anyone?
Who are they going to get? What do they need? They need a lot. I mean, we know the value now of backup quarterbacks with what happened to Love, so we can do that maybe. And maybe get Fitzmagic off the street. You need a spark. Bring Minshew back. I don't know.
Yeah, I would. I mean, depending on how bad like the Vikings get, because they did beat the Giants. They did beat the Giants. The Vikings did win. I mean, if they get pretty bad, you could look at maybe Justin Jefferson. Is that crazy?
Well, I mean, you got to trade guys when their value's high. That's what I say. If you're gonna do it when the value's high.
Yeah. All right, let's move. We're gonna move to the Bears game. Caleb Williams gets his first professional win in the NFL. He is the first quarterback since David Carr to win his very first start. Big things. The Bears are back, right? I mean, that's what we're saying. The Titans did the exact same thing as the Jaguars, and they went up 17 except 0 and just couldn't close it out.
Yeah, this actually reminded me, thinking a long way back to Ryan Leaf's debut. Played horribly, Chargers won. Peyton Manning played well, Colts lost, and people were like, well, I don't know, Manning, his team didn't win, and Leaf found a way to get it done, and who knows? I'm not comparing Caleb Williams to Ryan Leaf, not yet anyway. First start, rookie quarterback, there's going to be growing pains, but I think the takeaway is the Bears won the game. They rallied from a big deficit to get a win. This is a team that hasn't been to the postseason since, where they've been once, I guess, since maybe the Jay Cutler era. Am I right? Am I missing? See, I know they went 2018, but
I think they went twice. There was the Mitchell Trubisky MVP year when they lost to the Saints. Which do we even count that? Like, come on. But,
right. They were the first ever number 7 seed. Okay, I apologize. The point is, this franchise has not tasted a lot of winning recently, so I think it's a big deal. I know there's going to be some head scratching about the numbers, but look, the Bears defense, they did. The two quarterbacks combined for 220 passing yards. That's like a bad day for one guy in today's NFL. It wasn't a pretty offensive show by any means, but you're down. What were they down? 14, 17, or 17-0 at one point, and you get the win. I think the vibes are going to be good in Chicago. You'll worry about Caleb in a few weeks if he keeps playing like this. Not after one game.
Yeah, they didn't. They also did not run the ball well. The Bears did give up a lot of rushing. They gave up 140 on the ground. Tony Pollard actually looked competent, which I don't think a lot of people expected. But you would expect. I think a lot of Bears fans would go into the season expecting them to lean heavy on the run, and they ran it 22 times, but they were getting 3.8 yards per carry, which, you take that, but I don't think you're carrying your quarterback, right? On 3.8 yards per carry.
No, but and then the other quarterback in this game, there's some expectations on him, not Caleb Williams level, but Will Levis. I think the Titans fans want to see the guy improve in his rookie year. He's starting week 1 for the first time, but he didn't play great either. So, yeah, look, again, week 1, you could chalk it up to that. But 24 unanswered for the Chicago Bears. And if I'm a Bears fan, I'm just repeating that to myself all night. 24 straight points. Won the game. We're 1-0.
Yeah, as long as you win. I think that gets a little... Even in week 17, I think those things, they can get a little... We analyze it too much. I think a lot of people will analyze this stuff way too much, and they'll look at a game, maybe they just look like shit, but, even the good teams, sometimes the Chiefs do it too, right? The Chiefs will find a way, and God forbid, I'm not comparing these Bears to the Chiefs in any sort of way, but there has to be said about, the confidence, I think, that it adds, especially to a rookie. You need that. And Tennessee, there's one win in the AFC South, and this will lead into our next and final topic. One win in the AFC South, and it is not the Titans. I don't know how you felt about the Titans going into the year. I know there's some people that had them as a sleeper. How are you feeling about the Tennessee Titans?
I wasn't high on them. No, I mean, and I also think firing Vrabel was, I didn't love that move. I thought he was still a really good coach, but I think he wasn't just on board with a rebuild. I'm not high on the Titans. I'm still not really high on anybody in the AFC South except maybe Houston, maybe Indy. I mean, somebody had to win this game, somebody had to lose. It ended up being a pretty entertaining game. But if you're Houston, C.J. Stroud played a pretty efficient game. And, again, road division win to start the year. 30 carries, 159 yards for Joe Mixon. It's a pretty balanced attack for Houston. How did you feel about Anthony Richardson's first game back? I mean, he only went 9 for 19, but he made those yards count.
Yeah, I thought it was a good showing. I was actually, when I walk away from it, I think it was a very promising game. I came out of this positive. It was a positive loss. It was a we're moving forward loss. My issues with the team reared their ugly head, especially in the secondary. They were schemed up to protect the pass. It felt like all game. They couldn't protect the pass, and then I think that really hindered them on protecting the run as well, because they clearly did not expect Houston to run the ball. And in their last matchup, Houston was, throwing the ball a lot. They were, abusing our corners. So I don't really think they expected that, and we just got torched on every aspect of defense. Actually, I'm not going to say that. Pass rush was very good. Pass rush was kind of what it was last year. I think they got a lot more pressure this year or today. But defensively, it was incredibly disappointing. I know Chris Ballard said if the refusal to address the corner issue gets me fired, it gets me fired. Well, listen, buddy, your job is, it's in trouble. If you want to go based on this, I feel like you have to go out and get some sort of big secondary guy. And in the NFL, those trades seem weird, right? The NFL trades feel odd. It's not like baseball. You can't just plug a guy in. Pick him up. You just say, okay, go bat fourth, go bat fifth for us while you figure it out. In football, it's okay, you have to know the scheme, you have to understand all this stuff. I think the one thing offensively that doesn't concern me, I just don't really like to see it, is that Richardson was the leading rusher in yardage. Carried it 6 times for 56 yards. He was making them count, but again, Taylor, 16 yards. He was averaging 3 yards a carry. That's not encouraging to me whatsoever.
Houston's running game didn't get talked about a whole lot going in. I think people expected more from the Colts in this game, and you had two guys carry the ball the entire game too. It wasn't we'll give Taylor a spell, we'll try to do a couple of reverses, whatever. They carried it 22 times, and Taylor got 16 of those and only averaged 3 a carry. I have no problem with if your quarterback is able to run. By the way, I thought that I did see that one, the touchdown that Richardson threw. I think it was to Pierce, absolute dime, long touchdowns. There were flashes, but as you said, clearly the team, the full team. I mean, Richardson had some good and maybe a little bit of bad in his first game back, but the team, not addressing the corner situation, maybe not having enough balance in the run game, maybe not having enough, explosiveness at the receiver position. We'll see. I'm just shocked they didn't pull that trade off for Snead. I mean, it seemed like such a good fit. They had they had everything in place for it, and it just fell through. I'm very surprised they didn't address that position one way or another.
Yeah, this was, so if you look and you go through and look at the stats, this is an incredibly lopsided game. I mean, the Texans had the ball for literally double the amount of time that the Colts had the ball. That's the craziest thing. They had the ball for exactly 40 minutes, and the Colts had the ball for exactly 20 minutes in this game. And the fact that the Colts were, you look at, the score compared to all these stats, total yards, Houston 417, Indy 303. Colts lost the turnover battle, although they did have a block punt, which was big. Being this close, that's why I'm encouraged. We got to see these flashes from Anthony Richardson, and it was an incredibly lopsided game statistically, and you're hanging in there. You're 2 points away, So this is it was a good and a bad thing. Shane Steichen bungled the end of the game. He bungled just decision making, like those reasonable decision making. We were down. I want to say we scored a touchdown. I think it was our second touchdown. Just decided to not kick the ball. Didn't take the points. Like another theme I think that is recurring. Didn't take the points. It actually ended up hurting us because if he would have taken the points, that final touchdown we scored, we would have been able to go for 2 and possibly tie the game. But we weren't able to that time because we didn't take the points, and it all, carried over. You know that with John Harbaugh more than anything.
Yeah,
we're going to go into a little bit of extra time here. Give me 3 sentences on the Ravens, because that was a tough one.
Well, we got that loud timer. 3 sentences on the Ravens?
Yeah, just give me a little bit on the Ravens here as in our extra time.
Well, I think you can compare their first game to the Colts in a sense, where it felt like they were outplayed in a lot of facets of the game and still came within a toe of maybe tying or even winning the game. I think as hard as that game was, as I've sort of processed it over the last few days, it's kind of, you think about the expectations of them winning the game, they had a valiant effort. They didn't go out and get steamrolled. Offensive line needs to be better. There's a quick sentence for you. It needs to be a lot better. And they need to have a short memory. They have a long break. They have 3 extra days, but they need to have a short memory. I know that their last 2 games that they've played have both been 7-point losses to the Chiefs. I know there's like a sense that every game this year is going to feel like it pales in comparison to that very first one. But you got to go out and beat the Raiders. The Raiders only got 10 points this week. Don't get beat again like they did last year by Gardner Minshew. I would like to see them clean up the middle of the field. They were exposed. Kansas City went after them a lot. So fix the O-line, make some adjustments on the middle. Yeah, I say fix the O-line, but play better. Clean up the middle of the field and just try to flush this Kansas City game. They're off the schedule now. You don't see them again until January, if at all.
I guess we'll do, for our teams, you guys have the Raiders and the Colts have the Packers next week. But thank you all for listening. This was episode 1 of the Draft America podcast. So we're going to develop it and all that stuff. But again, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you next week.